What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Tuesday Night Cafecito and Canes. I am your host, John, and we got, of course, the esteemed Chalupa Batman himself. CB, how you doing this
What's
fine
up,
Tuesday
buddy?
evening?
I'm doing fantastic. For everybody in the chat, I promise I'm just tweeting out the link to the show. That's the only reason I did have my phone out. I'm doing great, bro. It's
I agree.
FSU week. We got the lineup's pretty healthy. Guys are getting healthy. We heard some good news from even some of the guys that played last week. Anytime someone comes back from an injury, you're always a little bit worried how sore they are after their first game, how banged up they are. Seems like everything's going good there. And honestly, the thing that's given me the most to smile about is the aura around the team, where usually every year we have to have these conversations between even me and you where we're like, do they not see what we see? This year they're seeing everything we see. Everything we complain about, they address in a press conference. Or
Yep.
so honestly, I'm at that point where if there's things that I want to be fixed, I'm allowing them to fix them. And I'm looking at objectively, throw out the logos. I'm looking at us versus the number 17th offense in the ACC, and I think the number 14th defense, the number 12 defense. So on paper, I'm just not scared about this matchup at all. When you throw the logos in, then I'm amped about it.
Of course. Yeah, and rivalry games, they always say throw the records out the window, and Mario said that. Of course he's got to have the team ready, and I hope the team prepares as if it's, another team vying for first place in the conference. Like, I hope they're preparing like if they're playing Clemson right now. You know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah,
think
I
they
hope so
will.
too.
I think they will. I think this team is mature enough and has showed me enough character that they are not going to take this team lightly. I think they're smart enough and experienced enough that they know what to do. They know how to go in there and handle business. But yeah, let's dive into it. So we were talking before we hopped on, or before we hit the live button, really. We were talking like FSU's total offense, I think, is dead last in America, or second to last. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, it is.
They average 15 points a game. So if there's a get right
4.5
game,
yards a play, dude.
that's awful.
That is
That is
awful.
that is borderline like you should be knocked down to FCS.
10 offensive touchdowns.
I saw that. Bain is going to
That's
eat.
incredible.
Did you see Bain had 10 QB pressures in the last game?
He was held a lot.
Oh,
He
I
was
know.
held a lot.
I know. Louisville fans
So
want
that same theme of last year, where he just gets held, and we kept telling ourselves, okay, it's because he's a freshman, so they're gonna let you bully the freshman a little bit. So what's the excuse now? Because he gets held blatantly, and it's caught. And when I say 4D, if you go to Getty and you look at Ruben Bain, it's literally photos of him being held.
Yeah.
Good to see he's back in his rare form.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to give it to Mario for getting us this far. Yeah, 100%. No, Mario deserves a medal and a raise, honestly, for this turnaround. Yeah, for not just for this turnaround for this season, but also the way he's building it to last. Not the way our rivals have. Because FSU fans are going to come on here and be like, "Oh, enjoy Cam while he's there, because next year, it's going to be, you guys are going to be just like us." No, because we actually have a roster. We actually have talented players that we're developing and that are getting better. Some getting better with each passing game.
Yes. If you look at who has made the highlights and who has really flashed this year, it's the recruited guys.
For the most part.
The argument can be made that other than Cam on offense, it's been the recruited guys. I mean, AJ Allen's looked fantastic, but Mark Fletcher looks like the best running back in the backfield. Xavier Restrepo, Isaiah Horton, and Jacoby are picking up right where they left off last year. The tight ends are all recruited. Yeah, the offensive line, even on defense, where Barrow's helping out a ton, and Barrow's had a fantastic year, probably our best defensive player all around this year. But OJ Frederick on the outside, Popo Aguirre, Wes Bassane, Ahmad Moten, who's looked great in spurts this year. Ruben Bain. These are recruits.
Mm-hmm.
And he sprinkled the veterans in with the recruits so that the ones that may not be ready for for 4 quarters, or they think they aren't, let me let you. They've been giving Popo just a little bit more every week, just a little bit more. But you don't have to overexert him because you still got Alderman, you still got Kiko. Even we've seen Justin Scott get a little bit more, but you don't have to overexert him because you got Clark, you got Barrow. That's what you use the portal for. It's to accentuate and make sure you're not you're not hurting the development of everyone wants to see Lyle get 20 carries a game, but maybe his body is really ready for it next year. I know his body looks like it's ready for it now. The kid looks amazing. But you still want to make sure you're not putting too many hits on him. If we're talking about building a legacy that lasts with this class going to the league too, Mario cares about their long-term future. You want to be a back that's got all these hits on you? No. So we got 4 guys back there. We'll get all 4 of you drafted. How about that?
Yeah.
So I love the way he's built it. I really do.
And if you look at the stat line, it's always like 9 carries, 11 carries, 12 carries. It's never, no one's carrying the load of 20 to 25 carries. And I think he's doing that on purpose because, we could possibly play 14, 15 games this year.
Yeah.
You got to load manage guys like they do in the NBA. You know what I'm saying? You got to really be careful with and not put too many miles on certain guys. So,
and he likes a physical style of a run game. We don't run a pretty, there's not a lot of sweeps and tosses, and it's not a very finesse style of running the football.
No.
The offensive linemen have tight splits. We all know what it is. Dive. Like he likes smash mouth football.
Yeah.
So I love that it's all right. Let's not put too many hits on Damian. Let's not put too many hits on Mark. Let's not put too many hits on AJ, because then you're in a situation like last week where the defense is kind of tired. We're kind of tired. AJ's fresh off the bench, ripping runs because he's fresh and hungry. They can't keep up with that in the 3rd and 4th quarter. That's a 1,000-yard back. That's a P4 1,000-yard back. So when you bring him off the bench as a pinch hitter, that defense, those safeties are tired of coming downhill. They've had to deal with Fletcher and Martinez all game. Now you got another one. That's why I say I agree with what you said, that the best part of how you described Mario building this team is he's built it for long-term success. You're seeing the layers on this team.
Right.
It's cool to see. It's really, really cool to see, because we went through the growing pains the past couple of years and starting some of these guys young and throwing them into the fire, and they didn't all last. Some of them are wearing different jerseys now. Some of them stuck it out. So we've seen him have to take it on the chin. Does his way work? Why isn't he in the portal more? We got all the money in the world. Why are we not signing this guy? Why are we not signing that guy? And he always said, I will stick to high school recruiting being the foundation of my football team. And we're seeing the fruit of that now. We're now seeing, you see everyone else's visit list, and it's not as long as ours. Why? Recruits understand that I may get in, but will I really play there? Do I get a chance to develop? Or by the time I'm a sophomore, have you brought in a junior that can play now? Now I don't even get a shot to show you. He's proven that he will choose you. If you come in and you do what you got to do, you have an opportunity here. So our visit list, so you start looking at a list of kids going to school, going for visits. It's not as long as it may have been 2 years ago. But here you do know that you still matter coming out of high school. And in today's day and age, I think that's huge. I really do.
100%. And just look at the list of players going to the FSU game in 4 days. Stupid.
It's insane, dude.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah. And that was Mario's goal with the Florida game, is like use that win as a recruiting tool, because he knew, like, he was confident. Look, we're going to go in there. Our goal is going to be to kick their ass, but let's go in there, get the win, and use that as a recruiting, pedestal, basically. He's doing that like times 10 for this game.
Yes,
and I cannot wait.
I didn't even know they gave out that many recruiting tickets. It's an insane list.
I didn't even know you could. I thought there was like a cap at some point.
Seriously, as I'm scrolling down Gio's post, I was like, hold on. Are they
allowed to do this?
Can you do this? and the answer probably is yes, but no one's ever thought to, because that's an insane list of people to manage. It's just an insane list. And it spans from this year's class all the way down to 27. It's not just that's another thing he has, I think, better than anyone else in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He is never laser focused on right now. He is always 3 steps ahead. This 2028s are popping offers on Twitter right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's always 2-3 classes ahead. And I think that's why we've seen the success. I think that's why we've seen the layers that we have on this team that we have now. When you can have a receiver go down, not necessarily notice it. When you can have a Ruben Bain rest up and get healthy, dude, on 80% of the programs in the country, he'd have had to play a little banged up.
Mm-hmm.
Here, he didn't have to. Relax, dude. We brought in some insurance for you. That's why Alston's here. That's why Barrow's here. Not to replace you, to add to you, so that we don't have to burn you out. So let's take all the necessary time. Let's bring him back in for ACC play. Now he's got strong legs, and while everyone else is going to the training room sore, banged up because we're 6 games in, that young man is fresh.
Yeah.
So that's what that philosophy allows you to do so much with your football team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and before we get into the actual Florida State game, you mentioned something earlier about Ruben Bain getting held a lot, and this. I haven't spoken to you during this span, really. This narrative that's been created that the refs are in our pocket, which is absolutely hilarious. Obviously, you've never seen Hurricanes football until this year. If you think that
they're young. They're all young. The ones that say that you don't have a profile picture, and I assume you're young, which I'm not saying that's anything wrong against you. I was young. We were both young once.
Yeah.
But you're young. You've got to be 18 or younger. You have to be to say that.
Yeah.
Just historic. That's like saying, well, the league's been helping the Raiders for years. It's almost so like it's asinine to say, even just as a football fan.
Yeah.
Historically, now you don't have to be a Canes fan to know that the NCAA doesn't like us. That's common knowledge.
That's pretty common knowledge. So let's go through them really quick. So the Virginia Tech game, I was there. I saw the ball moving. I haven't spoken to you directly about this. It was not a catch. I don't care what anyone says.
It wasn't a catch. It shouldn't have been a catch on the field, and that was the problem. It shouldn't have been a catch.
That was the problem. And even like
that was the problem.
Rick Neuheisel, I think that was the dude on CBS who used to be coach at Washington when we spanked him in 2001. Freaking guy. He was, him and a bunch of other guys on that panel were like, oh, it shouldn't have been overturned. But then they're asked, oh, but did they get the call right? Well, yeah, they got the call right.
Well, yeah, they got the call.
I'm
like, what?
Yeah, it was not a catch.
And then there's not enough evidence. Listen, within 10 minutes of being on Twitter, there was clear 3D 4K evidence that ball was moving. Within 10 minutes on Twitter.
I don't know if the replay we had on the big screen at the game is different from what they're showing on ACC Network or ESPN, wherever the game was.
Really?
I don't know if they were showing the same camera angles, but on this stadium big screen, they freezed it and zoomed into the ball like in the air after like the guy lands, and two guys are kind of wrestling for the ball, right? And the ball like whoop pops out. They freeze it right when the ball pops out, which is like a second after he hit the ground. Like he didn't have it long enough or have control of it. So they got the call right 1,000%. Then the targeting, what they think should have been targeting. Honestly, that was the one of these 3 calls. That was the one that's like, okay, that's bang, bang. But
they always get that wrong.
They always get that
wrong. They missed a big one in the Georgia game. That call isn't called right in the NFL. It's not called right in high school football. It's not called right in college football. That call is blown 60% of the time.
I agree. And also, it's like you see the hit, you see the guy going down to brace for the hit. It's like, well, what's he supposed to do? Kind of thing, which is what happened there. But anyway, say it's a bang bang play, but throwing the VTech argument right back in their face, the initial call was no targeting. So,
are we supposed to stick with the initial call or not?
Exactly. So. That at this point we own the refs. We're paying them, we're paying their kids' tuitions. We're paying, we're buying their groceries, everything. Then, of course, and this one was the most clear as day to me. Like, I don't think as many people were as vocal about this one, but the one where Cam's arm was obviously coming forward and it was a forward pass.
That's got to be trolling. It has to be.
I don't even believe
I thought when it happened, I was like, oh, that I wasn't even panicking. I was just thinking, okay, like that, come on, that's an incomplete pass. They let it go on the field because just in case you want to make sure you got a clean return. Cool.
Correct. Yes, that's why they let it go.
When you do that, unfortunately, when you do that, the public opinion first is, well, it was definitely a fumble. Why'd the refs let it go? Well, they have to, just in case. I thought that one was clear. 9 times out of 10, but if the ball goes forward,
your hand was coming forward with the ball.
The way physics work is an object in motion is not in motion until something propels it forward, and then it will stay in motion until something stops it.
And they're arguing that maybe the ball was like he shot put it, like he pushed the ball, but it wouldn't have gone as far as it did as quickly as it did. Like he had control of it, and when his arm got hit, it zipped forward. So what John
They're weird bang plays.
Literally went 7 yards forward.
Yeah, it literally was a forward pass. He threw a slant. Like he just threw a bad one.
It just went right into the ground. Yeah.
They have been bang. What I will like in defense of some of these fan bases, they have been bang. It does hurt when it's a bang call. But I do think the narrative that the ACC somehow wants Miami to represent them, the reason I keep laughing is because it is honestly laughable. If the ACC had their druthers, we'd be the last team undefeated right now. We would be nowhere near the top of this conference. The only reason they like it is because they sell more merch when we're on top. It's the only other reason they like when we win, because everyone's pockets gets filled because the logo translates. But come on, man, you can't be a college football fan and honestly tell me you really believe that somehow this year the NCAA wants us to win. If that's the case, tell me what the NCAA wanted from Texas in that Georgia game. Is the argument that the NCAA wanted Texas to beat Georgia? Because they overturn a call that's not overturnable. So what's the call?
That was a weird one. That was a weird one. And it was like 10 minutes after the play.
Why is the argument the refs are trash and not that the refs are helping Texas?
I don't know.
Lamar Jackson got drilled by a blatant targeting. Dude left his feet and everything, helmet to helmet last night. It was actually a pretty nasty hit. No flag, no nothing. Is the argument that the NFL refs don't want Lamar Jackson to win football games? Or can we all collectively as adults and football fans agree that officials have been terrible? Particularly, I feel like in the last 5 years, it's gotten worse. We know that. Yeah. We know that when we're watching a neutral game. It's just when you lose to us, you can't agree that the refs are just bad. Look, I umpired for 10 years. The human element is a part of the game. You blow calls. Anyone that'll tell you in a football game, most people will tell you that have lost a football game because of a ref. They most likely said that in the heat of the moment. I guarantee you the next day they told you everything they did or couldn't do to win that football game. I never lost a game and blamed a ref because I thought of every time I was open and maybe wasn't open enough. I thought about every time I got jammed and he should have thrown that ball to me. But if I didn't get jammed, maybe we get a first down on there if he can get me that slant. I think of that kind of stuff. I think of, man, I didn't make that tackle to 11 yards. If I make it at 9, they're punting on third down. We get the ball again. I think about all the reasons we didn't win because of us before I think of the ref. You 100%. Have to influence, to me, you have to blatantly influence the last call of the game. And when I mean blatant, I mean like Ohio State. I mean like 3 minutes after a play. Okay.
Yeah. Waiting until we're celebrating on the field.
If Georgia loses that game to Texas and they're complaining about the refs, if that pick six decided that game, you guys can complain all you want. But that didn't decide the game. There was still more football to be played.
Yeah.
So I saw the best meme ever. Stop complaining about the refs and start trying to stop Cam Ward.
Yeah.
Shut up about the refs and try to stop the guy that's thrown for 300 yards for 7 straight games.
Yeah. Yeah, and stop complaining about the refs that have, for the most part, made obviously the right call on those close plays.
And no one's
Like,
even debating that. They're just
nobody
upset that it didn't
nobody
go
with a
against
brain.
us.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's at the point where I know you heard it in the Louisville game. The announcers are egregious at this point.
Oh my God. I mean,
Put your L's up. I was like, what? You said that?
I mean, Joe Tessitore was he got pretty excited. It wasn't like morgue level calmness when we scored. Like, he got pretty excited when we scored. I had to go back and watch the replays just to take emotion out of it, you know? It was like he got pretty excited and hyped when we scored, but when they scored, you would have thought he was having a conniption in the press box. I mean, he was losing his mind, losing his voice anytime they did anything.
And they kept referencing the time they beat us. They would never let that down. Never let. And it's okay. Look, you don't. But the problem is, and I think why our fans get so upset is we embrace the fact that we're the villains. We understand you guys don't like us. It's fine. We don't care. We take that on the chin. We wear it as a badge. That's fine. You don't want to like us. Cool. That's fine. The players. That's why there's a Miami style of guy. There's a guy that feeds into that.
Mm-hmm.
The other side is I need you guys to admit you don't like us.
Yeah,
we're okay with it. It doesn't bother us anymore. But stop pretending as if we are somehow the darlings of the NCAA now. Come on, man. It is proven fact that when they busted us, they literally cheated to do that because they just wanted to nail us.
And couldn't even totally bust us, really. The punishment was the investigation being dragged on for 3 years and them finding really nothing.
And self-punishment.
Right. So that ended up being the punishment.
So it's weird. It's weird that the narrative, going back to the original question, it is very weird, bro. It is very weird. I've been a Canes fan since, I think, probably 99. I was about 9 years old. And the first thing my dad told me when I wanted to be a Miami fan was they're the bad guys. No one likes them. They do things the wrong way. We don't root for them. He's a Notre Dame fan. It's common knowledge, guys. So to say the NCAA is helping us, it's just weird. It's a cop out. It's easier to say that than to say we blew a 20-point lead in the fourth quarter.
Right. And actually, this is a good point. No one brings up the safeties that Miami got screwed on last year, Don Chaney's fumble. And then this, also great point by John C. The funny thing is teams are letting us drop 40 points on them, even though 40 points and more. And they want to point to one call. And it's to the point that even the head coaches are crying about one call, which is a bad look.
It's just a thing now. It's a
bad look. When do you see coaches do that before? Complain about a call?
You're not allowed to. You're not allowed to do that to the refs. The NCAA is supposed to fine you for that. You're not allowed. You're not supposed to be allowed. That's why anytime Mario talks about the refs, he stops and he makes it a point to say, I'm not criticizing the referees. Because you get fined for it. You're not allowed to do it. But these guys sit up in their press conferences week after week, and they do it with impunity. It makes no sense to me. But to me, that's fine. To me, we don't have a lot of bulletin board material because we're 7-0. So all that's good. Keep putting all that on those kids' shoulders. Keep letting them hear all this nonsense. That's great. Because it's hard to give them more edge when they're beating everybody. So let them continue to believe the world's against you.
And we know they're hearing it and feeding off it because look at the way Damian Martinez played. Oh my God.
Oh gosh.
Like you were saying earlier in the show.
Him and Sam Brown heard it all.
Yeah, like you were saying earlier in the show, like, hey, do they listen to what we or are they seeing what we're not seeing? They're seeing everything. They're hearing everything we say. And because it's like the next week something gets adjusted that we were talking about. And that's one of them was just Martinez just, hey, play harder.
Watch the last two games. Cam starts off both games. Sam Brown. First two targets. They listen. I'm telling you, they're listening. They're not just listening, but they're actively trying to make these things better. Hey, I'm everywhere, Cube. They're actively trying to make these things better. We wanted a more rotation in the secondary. We started to see that last week. The coaching staff does have a good pulse of the fan base. I believe they do. I really do.
Mm-hmm. We talk about how bad the secondary is, then maybe they'll fix it. Yeah, man.
Well,
It's
we have been, and they've been addressing it, or they're trying.
They're trying. You saw a little bit more zone. You saw a few different looks thrown in. They just weren't tackling. That was the biggest issue.
That part, and I know it's easy sometimes to rag on coaches because they're the fall guy. Tackling is not. That's not. Cristobal didn't tackle nobody. Shannon
Right.
Dawson doesn't tackle nobody. Gidry don't tackle nobody. That's not scheme. Wrap up, man. That's I'd say that's our biggest Achilles heel right now. Is we're not a very good tackling football team at the moment.
No, specifically in the secondary, some of the linebackers, it's just, yeah. And it's just a lot of it is want to. Some of it, yeah, you could point to technique, but I mean, these are P4 starters. There shouldn't be much technique left to clean up at this level. You know what I'm saying?
Not at this point, because we know they don't come to college trying to learn how to play football. They come from institutions in high school at this point. We're talking about IMG guys and St. Thomas Aquinas guys and Chaminade. These are institutions.
American
I
Heritage
know
State.
you learned how to.
Out.
I know you know how to. You learned how to play football, son. I know you went to Heritage. I know you know how to play football. So it's a little bit of want to, some bad angles that are being taken. Yes, Zaquan actually did play more, and Gidry said this week in his press conference that he's earned even more playing time. So, but that's, again, that goes all the way back to what John said at the beginning of this, how Mario's built this team, the layers, the depth. Now we can say, okay, maybe he's not playing so well. Let's limit his snaps. Let's put him in better situations. And in the situations he's not doing well in, let's throw the young guy out there that we made sure we got some reps earlier in the season in some of these blowouts. He's built this team to where he can plug and play a little bit. That is a hilarious comment.
Pay for tackles and IL fund. I love it. I'll chip.
It worked for the Saints back in the day, didn't it?
Oh my God, that's funny.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I will contribute.
Absolutely. All right, so enough of that. Even though we haven't looked great on defense, whatever. We're 7-0. We've gotten past it. I think something like tackling, I think, is fixable to a degree. Yes. So, like you said earlier, I'm gonna give him a chance to, before I jump down the coach's throats, I'm gonna give him a chance to to fix it, because I'm sure they're working on fixing it.
Gidry's an old school coach from Louisiana. He's fixing.
Yeah, no, they're working. They're absolutely working on it as we speak, I'm sure. Let's talk about the game, the upcoming rivalry game, Miami FSU. I am, even though I feel very confident, I am taking it as seriously as I usually take it. It's still FSU. They still want to come in and ruin our season, and we will not let them. And hopefully we will whoop that ass on Saturday. But I throw it over to you. How, we were going over the stats that they're really bad offensively. They can barely move the ball, all that stuff. And defensively, you look at their statistics, they're okay. I mean, they're in some low scoring games, I guess. You can point to that. They have Cypress is a really good corner. They have a couple of good D linemen. Patrick Payton's really good.
Good pass rush.
Really good. Yeah, really good pass rusher. I could see FSU bringing a heavy blitz, just kind of have a prayer of a chance. How do you see this game going, and what should Miami look out for, in your opinion?
I think the pass rush is going to be still pretty good. They've got some athletes up front. You watch that Cal game, they had Mendoza running for his life. And the only time the issue why they almost lost that game is anytime they backed off and rushed 3 or 4, they were giving Mendoza way too much time. But they kept the heat on that kid. And I think that's the one thing that, listen, Florida State team's going to have speed. Yeah, I don't care what team you play in Florida. They're going to have speed. They're not as I'm trying to be nice. They don't have the talent in the back end that they've had in previous years. Not in totality as a secondary. So I'm not worried about their corners versus our DBs. But I will say, you know, they've got some quality pass rushers up there. Where they're weak at is at defensive tackle, I think. I think we will run the ball. I think we're going to impose our will running the ball in between the tackles on them. I think they're just – we know those guys, and we've seen how they played this year. We know they haven't played up to their standard. We know that because we know them. But we also know about we saw that coming too. But the guys on the edge, those are ballers. I agree. But we were actually talking about that beforehand about me and John were talking right before we went live on like that threshold of a number on where we'll be happy. I think you do have to throw out the records just because there's something to be said on both sides where it's I grew up wanting to be a Kane and they didn't want me. So that kid plays hard today. I grew up wanting to be a Noel and they didn't want me. So that kid plays hard today. I know that guy. So you play harder. That's why those games mean something because you're playing against brother, cousin, former teammates. That's why they tend to know you a little bit better too. You may have grown and progressed. Yeah, but you always like that inside release. You've always liked an inside release. So I know the shade to the inside. So I think that's why you're going to see some of that tightness in this game. I just think player for player on paper, we're just a better skilled football team than them. But by no means should they come into this game thinking it's going to be a cakewalk. That is still a Division I program. Those are still D1 athletes. A lot of those guys still have NFL aspirations. And John, you said the best thing anyone could say previewing this game. They want to play spoiler. Their season is done. Done. They know that. From the top to the bottom, they know that. But what they can do and what they will hang their hat on is if the one loss we have is to them. That'll make their year. That may keep Norvell on campus.
That'll make their decade.
Because they know a one-loss team from the ACC. Do we get in? Hopefully. If we're not the champs, probably not. Because they're gonna heavy SEC this thing. We've seen it with the rankings week to week. So if Florida State can rest their head at the end of the year and say, we're the reason they didn't make the playoff or got a terrible seed in the playoff or didn't win the ACC, they'll be okay. So I think that's dangerous, man. A hurt dog is dangerous. That cat that's cowering in the corner is dangerous because all he's got is fight now. What's the worst that happens? They get blown out. So now they're 1-7. I mean, you know what I mean? So those guys are playing to ruin our season, not make theirs. They know their season's over. That's dangerous because they come. You got a little bit. Now, what we got to do is you stomp that shit out of them early because that don't last. The air in your chest only lasts when it works.
Right.
When you come out, and then it's 14-0. I knew we couldn't beat these guys. But if it's 14-10, you start telling yourself, hold on, you can do this. So then you start to believe. We need to take that out of we need to take the air out of their lungs early. I'm talking 5, 6, 7 yards a carry. And we need to punish that team, punch them in the mouth, and remind them they're 1-6 because they're going to forget about that record because it's a rivalry game. Remind them what it's been like for the past 8 weeks in college football for them. And I think we have no problem. If we play with our food, though, you can't play with your food when it's someone that has a personal interest in the football game. No. Look how hard Cal played us. Look how hard Virginia Tech played us. Cal likes us. They actually like us. These people hate us. You can't give them any ammunition. Don't give them hope. Remind them who they are and remind them who we are. We are 7-0. We're the best quarterback in the nation. You guys are floundering. You'll probably win 2 games this year at best. But if you give a team like that hope, you're going to get the hardest 4 quarters of your life.
Yeah.
Because all they're thinking of, it's that kid that doesn't want you to win. He don't care if he wins. He just wants you to lose. It's that old Joker thing. I don't need to win, bro. I just want you to lose. That's all they want. They just want to ruin our season. And I think that's the most dangerous thing. I know trap games are dangerous. No, it's dangerous when someone has a personal vendetta and nothing to lose. That kid, Brock Glenn, has nothing to lose. He's a fucking hero. He wins this football game.
They'll make a statue of him. Are you kidding me?
He's a hero. Yeah. And that's why you can't take it lightly. You cannot take it lightly. And we remember being on the other side. Everyone likes to tell us how mediocre we've been in the past 10 years. So we remember when we ruined seasons. Don't forget that. Also, from the kids that were there in 2022, there's probably not many that were there back there in this game. X was there for sure.
Mazador.
Don't forget that.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. I don't want anyone on this roster to forget that.
Yep.
Jacoby,
there was a handful.
Remember that.
Horton. Yeah, there was a handful of guys on this team that are like some of the older guys now.
I want y'all to remember that.
Yeah.
Because the young guys don't know what that's like. They're coming in fresh. The hunger needs to come from y'all. Because y'all understand. It's payback. We took that on the chin. Mario took that on the chin.
Yeah.
Coach went to the presser and said, I don't want to hear nothing about them running up the score. They're supposed to play good. We're supposed to stop them. One day the shoe's on the other foot. He took it on the chin. Now, he could have went there and said, no, we know what he was doing, and he didn't have to do that. But it's a rivalry game. He wanted to spit on me. He didn't say that. He says, my fault. My team should have stopped him. Took it on the chin. We turned the other cheek long enough. It's time.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to whoop that ass. It is time. And I'm glad we still have some of those guys. I'm glad we still have Jacoby. I'm glad we still have, because when it is 14-3, I want guys like that to tell people, lock in. It ain't over at 14-3. They embarrassed us. So, and I think that's going to help us. We don't have that situation where all those guys are gone. There's guys on this team that remember that. And then the young guys that got this close last year.
Yeah.
With a freshman quarterback. You know how hungry they were for that thing? Remind them of that. Remind how hungry y'all were. Y'all almost pulled it off last year with a freshman quarterback on the road. You couple that class last year that almost got it done being with Pampers on. We were playing babies last year. Then you got the veterans that not only did they didn't get that one last year, that should have been their get back. They got to hear about the fucking 45-3. It's all they've had to hear about for the past few years. And that's why I don't think they'll take it lightly, bro. Because X is the leader in this locker room.
1,000%.
X remembers 45-3. Guarantee you he remembers.
The same way Ed Reed remembered 47-0. The same exact way.
I guarantee you he does. Jacoby is a trash talker. Jacoby had one catch in that game. Jacoby remembers that game. I guarantee you he remembers a game where Florida State players could talk to him and he had nothing to say back. So I'm happy that this team is peaking now this year because we still have some of those guys. We still have some of those guys that know what it's like to be in a game like this and lose. They won't take it lightly because some of the guys will. It's football. It's going to happen. They're going to look at the record and go, I'm going to beat the shit out of them. But the guys that know won't. Because it means too much to them. And it's your last FSU game for some of these guys. We do have a lot of seniors. We got guys and even juniors that won't be back next year. It's your last one. How do you want to be remembered? This game more than anything this year, you'll be remembered for. Unless we win the Natty. Right. But they're gonna remember the crazy comebacks, obviously. But we won't in 3 years. The average fan won't remember which game. So just remember Miami had a bunch of comebacks that year, but they'll remember how we played at FSU. I don't remember much about Florida State in 2022. I don't. I remember they beat the shit out of us though. I remember that. So they will remember that. And I think because of that, I'm not worried. I'm not worried about the leaders taking this lightly. I'm really not. A guy like Cam takes nothing lightly. Cam thinks he's been playing mid.
Yeah. Yep.
Cam doesn't think he should be a Heisman candidate right now.
And after he said that, he played the Louisville game and look how great he looked. It arguably was his best game because he was his most efficient self. He played a clean game, maybe for the first time all year. I mean, the Florida game was pretty clean, aside from like one mistake. But yeah, he looked like Heisman Cam, and
it's that. That's why I don't think they'll come out flat. I think the leadership in this locker room just won't allow it. They called a players only meeting. They're undefeated. They're 6-0.
Oh, I know.
They're 6-0. You know what they would have been doing at 6-0 3 or 4 years ago? We just seen them at that goddamn gas station
taking
doing
pictures
TikTok dances
at the Bahamas on vacation.
It's a different team.
Two different cultures that we've seen over the last few years.
And then you got hungry transfers. You got transfers that haven't won. They haven't been on a big stage like this.
Mm-mm.
They want this. They want to win a big bowl game. They want to make it to the playoffs. These are guys that have been on solid teams their entire career. Sam Brown came from U of H. You don't think he wants to make the most out of this opportunity?
Mm-hmm.
He came from U of H. He wants to make the most out of this. You don't think Mish feels like he was this close last year to a natty? And it probably bothers him constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I with what he's added to the locker room, with what's been here, I just think the hunger's different. I think the hunger's way different on this football team.
It is 100% different. But as far as like my keys for the game and what I'm thinking they got to look out for and maybe avoid. First of all, Ben Pfeiffer's makes a good point. We got to keep the penalties in check. Yes. I thought we did a very good job of that at Louisville. I thought we played a much cleaner game penalty-wise. I mean, we had 5 penalties for 55 yards in that game, and 2 of them were complete BS.
Not bad. Yeah.
The one they took away. Yeah, not bad at all. They took the touchdown away from X, ticky-tack. Arguable. Yeah, he threw the elbow out there, but he didn't even hit him for the pass interference. And then what should have ended the game.
And the Maui Noah pick.
Well, that should have been a flag, and it wasn't. So it's like, you're going to call one, you got to call the other. And then the freaking, I think Jadis Richard was on coverage, that it was like 15, 20 yards over the guy's head.
Oh, my God.
What happened to uncatchable? Does that just go out the window in Miami games? It must, because I've seen that
thing in the third row.
Bro, the game should have been over right there. Yeah. Turnover on downs, we win by 2 touchdowns, which is, the game was not as close as the score showed, in my opinion. I don't know how we got on that. Oh,
I forgot about that one.
Yeah,
I forgot about that one.
Keep the penalties in check. I thought they did a good job of that. Keep doing that. Don't get baited. Don't get yourself a bad 15-yarder after the whistle. Avoid that. That'll be good. Our crowd noise, Brock Glenn hasn't dealt with crowd noise like he's going to see on Saturday. That
stadium's been so loud. And from home, John, that stadium has been loud as hell. And I watch the games at home. I can hear y'all. I can hear audible chants. I can hear CANESC. I can hear y'all.
It's going to be a different level Saturday, because I was at the Virginia Tech game, that Friday night game. I was pleasantly surprised that we had well over 50,000 at that game. Pleasantly surprised, especially for a Friday night. Not a sellout, but I was like, okay, good crowd, good energy. We're pretty loud. This game's going to be like, if not every seat full, it's going to be pretty damn close. And there's going to be a roar in that crowd anytime something good happens and anytime we're on defense. So that is going to impact them 100%. Another thing we got to look out for, like I said, they're going to bring a heavy blitz at us. I feel like we got to be careful if we're throwing like a tunnel screen or a halfback screen, be careful. Do not let that shit get picked off. Don't let that shit get knocked away or whatever, or it hits off a guy's helmet, batted up in the air. That kind of is making me a little nervous. They bring a heavy blitz. They're not going to do it every play, because I think they have confidence in their pass rush, but they'll bring it here and there. Cam's going to have like a second or two to make a decision and throw that ball out of there quickly. Just be careful with those plays. And then, of course,
because they have to win ugly. They got to win that way. That's how they'll beat us.
Correct.
Tip passes for interceptions, strip sacks, strip fumbles. They're going to have to win ugly.
That's another thing, ball security. Because I think the first drive, maybe we take a shot downfield, but the first drive is going to be like pound, pound, pound. It's going to be pound that defense. I don't know if you follow hockey at all. I'm a huge Panthers fan. They showed on that Prime series, Paul Maurice, the Panthers coach. He had a great clip when we were playing Boston, I think, in the conference finals or the second round of the playoffs. And we're up 3-1 in the series. And we're up, I think, by a goal in the game. And we're trying to finish them off, right? And he's like, guys, no one's hitting anybody. Like, which is their identity. They're a very physical team. Like, no one's hitting anybody. You guys are trying to make a play. And he goes, fuck the plays. Pound their fucking D. The reason he says that is because if you do that, if we go to game 7, they have nothing left. I was like, oh, chills. Oh, I love that.
That's smart. That's smart.
It's tough to play, but it's tougher to deal with. So like, I feel like they're going to come in with that mindset. Like, we know we can throw it over their head all day. Let's send a message like we did at the beginning of the Cal game. Pound their D. So that second quarter, third quarter, they're winded.
Yes. I
think that is this. I mean, 2 hands on the ball, obviously. Ball security is paramount. Play fundamental football, play clean football, but pound their D. That way, they're like, again, second, third quarter, they're done.
They're done. And then they have to contemplate, do we bring these safeties down?
Yeah.
Because we've shown we can run against a stacked box anyway. So we can continue to pound the rock if you bring the safeties down. But if you bring those safeties down, it's over. Can't play these receivers one-on-one. You can't play the tight end one-on-one. You can't play X one-on-one. You can't. So I agree with you. I say you start this game off, you give them a heavy dose of Fletcher Martinez. Play action off of it, but let high percentage throws. Cam does not have to be Superman this week. He doesn't.
Yeah.
He really doesn't.
And you know what? 3rd and inches, 4th and inches, 4th and 1, go for it.
Break their backs. Break their back.
Exactly. Do not punt. Do not give them like the satisfaction of a stop. Unless we're like on our own 20, anything beyond like the 35, 40, go for it.
I like that you said composure. That for me, that's going to be my number one key for this game is the composure. Again, they got nothing to lose. That mean nothing to one of them if Jacoby and their DB get suspended for another game. That's another. He saved himself from getting his ass whooped next week by somebody. But now we done lost a key receiver in a national championship season that we're trying to put together. Composure is going to be huge. Cam may need to stop with the lollygagging and get out of bounds thing. They're going to be headhunting a bit. Again, these are guys that are just trying to make a name for themselves, and they're just trying to spoil our year. So I would tell everyone, be extra careful, be extra secure with the football. Don't yap back and forth after plays. Get back to the huddle. Whoop them on the field. Then we can do all of our talking 3rd and 4th quarter. But don't let them get in your head early. That's what they want. They can't beat you straight up. So they want to do that. They're going to want to do the ticky-tack stuff. And the team has been great about it, man. Cal did some really weird ticky-tacky things in that first half. Some things I was not really happy about as a fan watching. And we held our composure. They're going to have to hold their composure this week. It's for me, that's our number one key. 1, run the football. 2, keep your composure. And I think we're fine. 3, tackle. Because they still have athletes. They're still going to have guys that in space, they're going to be athletic. So, and I have no notes other than that for the defense because you're essentially playing a rookie freshman quarterback, Guidry against a freshman quarterback with the amount of pressure and different looks he can give this kid. Glenn is going to be seeing ghosts by the 4th quarter, I would imagine.
Yeah, real question is who starts the 3rd quarter, Emery or Reese?
Yes, Emery, because he needs his get back from last year.
Absolutely. I mean, we remember that Instagram reel, these frat boys laughing at him for getting carried away in the ambulance. You talk about the guys 2 years ago that haven't forgotten about the butt whooping we took. There's guys from last year that haven't forgotten about that.
They haven't forgotten about that shit. Yep, they have not. And which is why I say if we're up 40 in the fourth, put the backups in and let Emory bomb away.
Oh yeah. No. You definitely put the backups in once it's a comfortable lead, but you stay aggressive. Our coach is petty. Let him be petty. Run up that score. I hope we're touching 70 on the scoreboard, honestly.
And I don't want to hear you complain when it's our backups doing it. Hey, we're just trying to get reps for guys. We're just trying to get good quality reps. At the end of the day, you're a quality football team. We just want to get quality reps against a quality football team. Just so happen to be 60-yard bombs. However, we're just trying to get good reps. But I actually forgot about that until you just said that. I want that for him so much in this game.
Oh, yeah.
I want that for him so much in this game.
I want to see him take off, put his head down, and run through a safety.
That'd be great. It would be great if they dial something up for him. Some two quarterbacks, something. I don't know. I just now my other focus is I just want to see Emory just get some of that get back from last year because he played his heart out in that game. And we could see watching his frustration with not getting to throw the football more. And then they give him some, and we start getting that. He didn't look like a Heisman candidate, but we saw the composure from him. And we saw the confidence starting to build. And for me, the reason I always love Emory is because I go back to, if you got to give one of the most famous quotes in our history, if you got to give an arm, give an arm. If you got to give a leg, give a leg.
Mm-hmm.
Melvin gave his leg. Emory gave his arm.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I just want to see him have just a little bit of something, just one touchdown, maybe two. I just want to see Emory get to enjoy this game. Maybe he takes the knee or something. I think I know that kid wants to start this game. I know he wants to whoop them this game. So it'd be really cool to see him in the fourth quarter just get to have some get back. It would be cool.
Oh, I think he will. Fresh at 35-42 says that Emory's going to play. I think he's going to play in the second half for sure.
Yeah, there's no way you don't. There's no way.
Now, there won't need to be a knee taken because I know if we're up by 50 or 40 points, Mario ain't taking a knee.
No, not this week. I'm sorry, y'all. For all you guys that want to see the victory formation, that shit ain't happening this week, you guys. It's just not. First off, that's not really his style. He's done it more this year, but for the most part, he's proven that he wants to just run the football until there's zeros, and it's just his style. And in this one, guys, you're just gonna have to let him be petty. Just let him be petty.
Yeah, man. I can't wait. It's Tuesday night. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah, basically 3 days. I cannot wait.
It's the slowest week ever, dude.
I know.
It's the slowest week ever.
I know. Today freaking dragged. Normally what feels like, it's afternoon already, right? Nope, it's 10:30 a.m. Damn. Yeah. Today dragged.
It's because we're so anxious. We're so anxious for this. This week is dragging. It's only at certain points today, I was like, okay, it is Tuesday, right? It's not Wednesday. Because I'm like, it feels like I've had 3 days this week already. And it's just because and then we play the night game. So we're going to have that whole lull of waiting for our game. But I think it's great. I think it's great that it's going to be at night. It's going to be on ESPN.
Absolutely.
I would like everyone to tune in. I want everyone watching this football game. Now they're all going to tune out by the third quarter because it's going to be 40-0. But I want everyone to watch this one. I really do.
Mm-hmm. Hey, John Hurricane warning for FSU category 7-0. Payback time, go Canes. Yeah, man.
They deserve it, man. The guys that were here and that stuck through all the nonsense and that believed in Mario's vision, they deserve this one. They deserve to put full belt to ass this week. They really do. If X wants to play in the third quarter, I don't want to play too much. But if X says he ain't had enough.
Yeah. Leave me in there an extra series. Why not?
Yeah, one more series. If he honestly came to Cristobal and said, I haven't had enough yet. All right, one or two more series. Because they deserve this. They had to really buy in after losing to your rival that bad, dude. You gotta really buy in. And I'm proud they stayed. I'm proud that guys believed in the vision. Guys didn't transfer out. Even after last year, guys stuck behind James and Cam, and they waited their time. They waited for their moment. I'm really happy they're going to get that moment this week, dude, because they deserve it, man. It's one of the greatest feelings in college football is beating a rival, man. You need to experience that. You got to. There's nothing that's better other than holding the national championship trophy. But there's nothing better. And we own Florida. We win this.
Yeah, state
that
champs.
needs to be said as well. We're state champs when we win this. So I'm really, really happy for the guys that are still on the roster. I really am. The guys that didn't leave. I'm happy they're not just this one, but for the year. I'm happy they're getting to experience this, period. Yeah, it's different when we're winning. I know it's a lot more hate, but it's a lot more publicity. The brand travels well. So when we're winning, fucking Bose commercials and all kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I would imagine the local commercials and press they get are through the roof. So I'm happy X is getting to experience what it's like to be on top as a Miami Hurricane. He deserves that. I'm glad Cooper, who bought in, I'm glad these guys are getting to experience what it's like to win at Miami. They deserve it.
Yeah. On the other side of pain is success sometimes. So
yes,
they're starting to taste that now. Is Isaiah Horton okay? I remember him. Yeah, it looked like he tweaked something, but he came back in the game and actually scored a touchdown.
He came back.
After that.
Yeah, he came back.
Yeah, he's okay. So yeah, 2 more quick things before I let you go. Your favorite Miami FSU memory. And then after we do that, I'll tell you mine. You tell me yours. I'll tell you mine after. And then after we do that, score predictions, and we'll get out of here. So
I forget the year, but we'll all remember this game when we see it. Now, some people remember this game for a different play. It's the play that pissed me off because I was a massive Roscoe Parrish fan because I was a little receiver. So I remember the wet that game we had in the wet.
03.
That was one of those games where when I tell people this now, they think I exaggerate, but it felt like for about 2 years, whatever we needed, Sean got for us. If we needed a punt return, for some reason, Sean would find his ass back there. And he may not even bring it for a touchdown, but he'd bring it we'd have the ball at the 5. You know what I mean? If we needed a pick, Sean would get it. We needed a fumble, he'd strip somebody. If it needed to be a pick 6, he'd take it to the house. It just felt like for about 2 years, whenever we really needed something, it was almost like Sean just made sure he did it. There's an interception in that game from Sean Taylor that the image of him running it back with his amber visor, no gloves that day, white tape on the fingers, orange wrist tape, white wristbands. I can see it like it's yesterday, bro. I can see it like it's yesterday. I think that may be my favorite Miami moment, period, because that was that around the time when I really realized like this guy is different. He was already one of the best players in the country, and we all knew that. But that was around the time when I started to realize he was just a kind of football player like Ed Reed was, where it was, if we need something, 26 is going to find a way to do it. Whether that's diving across the field, covering a zone that he has no business being in, intercepting a slant while being parallel like this to the ground. He just always had that knack. And I think it was that game, because that was a low-scoring game. Greg Jones back then used to drive me nuts. That 3 yards in a cloud of dust with his big ass used to drive me crazy. You know, I remember Jared Payton had to step up in that game for us as well. Like I'm being transported now that I'm thinking about it. But it was that Sean Taylor return. It was that image and that moment of realizing, oh, as long as 26 is on the field for us, if we need it, he'll get it for us. That is my favorite FSU moment. Also, because of it being a low-scoring game, I was younger back then. I was a jaded fan. I was one of those, oh, God, we're going to lose this game. And for me, he was my hero. So it was my favorite player. And it was just that, oh, he's always going to come up big. And I think that for me, that's when I realized, like, we know he's an elite football player. But at that point, it was just like, oh, no, he's different. He's a different kind of special, because it was literally, and I think the announcers, if you watch it, they allude to that. It'd be great if Sean could make a play here for Miami, and he does. And I'll never, like I said, I can close my eyes and tell you what he wore for that game. That's how much I remember that moment.
Yeah, that was a great one. That was 03 in the rain. Both top 5 teams. I think FSU was number 5 and we were number 2. And yeah, and we pounded them that game. I remember. It was a physical, sloppy game, figuratively and literally. And yeah, Sean Taylor, I remember he had that pick 6 at the end of the first half to break it open. It made it like 19-0. And it's like, oh man, they're not.
It just felt like
they're done.
It felt like they were done. Like it just. And back then too, rivalry games used to mean a little bit more. They mean more. They mean as much now. But you remember back then? I was telling my wife this the other day. You remember back then we used to have rivalry week. And it'd be FSU, Miami, Michigan. We had the whole week of it. So you wanted to win yours. It was bragging rights week. So you definitely wanted to win yours. Dorsey to Shockey is tough to top.
That was my first game. I was in 8th grade. That was my first game. And I remember being in the stadium in the upper deck cooking because it was like the hottest day in the history of Miami ever. It was so hot that day. And I remember they scored to take the lead. And it was, they literally ran out of fluids actually in the stadium. It was,
really?
They ran out of beer. They ran out of water before the game started. They scored to make it 24-20, I think. And everybody did the same thing. We all looked at the clock to see how much time was left. And we're like, there's a minute 28, minute 26. And we're like, we're still okay. And boom, boom, boom. 5 plays later, 6 plays later, we scored. And yeah, that was my introduction to
Is that your favorite moment?
You would think it's not my favorite moment. For whatever reason, this one stands out more. The 04 game that went into overtime. That Frank Gore scores the winning touchdown.
Frank Gore?
Yeah, because at that point, I'm a little older. I'm a senior now in high school. That was like the first or second week of my senior year of high school. So, I'm a little more grown up now. I feel like the torch was now being passed to me as a fan. You know what I'm saying?
They're your Canes now.
Exactly. Like, I felt like, okay, I was a kid for like 2000, 01, 02. I'm a fan, obviously, but I'm still like, I'm learning. You know what I'm saying? But now I'm like, I'm grown. I was like, okay, this is like my team now. So yeah, and at that point I'm following recruiting. I'm all in at this point. That was the first year I was doing all of that. So that's probably why I felt different. And it wasn't the game-winning score. It was the Sonoris Moss game tying score on the bubble screen.
Really?
Oh my God. Because I kept saying we were down 10-0 for pretty much the entire game. 10-0, 10-3. And I just kept thinking, we're going to win this game. I don't know how we're going to do it. We're winning this freaking game. I don't know how it's going to happen. And sure enough, Devin Hester blocks a field goal to keep us in the game. Then the drive starts with Brock Berlin. And then he throws a little bubble screen. And for some reason, like I see the Red Sea parting. And he misses. He makes one guy miss, then another guy. Then he goes down the sideline, and then the crowd stands up in unison as he's doing this. It felt like it was in slow motion. And he scored.
You give me little chills.
And it
Sonoris
was like
my guy.
So I love Sonoris, and he's an actor now. I don't know if you know that.
Is he? I know he's a voice actor. I know he does voice acting. He's done
a few big commercials. He's been in a couple like Hallmark movies and stuff like that. Yeah, no, he's acting. It's super cool. But anyway, we scored the game tying touchdown, and that was probably the 3rd loudest I ever heard the Orange Bowl. That moment, which is something to say because I was there for all the big early 2000s games. I was there for all of them.
Holy shit! So, and that roar stands up.
It was that one. The Devin Hester kickoff return against Florida to open the game. That's probably the loudest.
That had to be bonkers. Yeah.
That was the loudest. And probably the Willis McGahee screen pass that he almost took to the house that set up the go-ahead score. Those are the 3 loudest moments ever. Yeah. But anyway, that Sonoris Moss play stood out because he scored and I was like, I knew it. I knew we were going to do it. We were going to pull it out somehow. Then we kicked the extra point. John Petty, I remember, kicks the extra point to tie it. we all held our breath for a second. I was like, oh, we still have to make this kick.
Yeah, you forget it. Shit ain't over yet.
Yeah. Then they line up and everybody got quiet. Like, oh wait, he's got to make this. He made it. Thank God. And then Chris Ricks fumbles to open the overtime, and we recover it. And I'm like, ball game. We're about to win this. And
Chris Ricks,
then
the greatest Miami Hurricane of all time.
Yes, sir. And then of course,
he's the greatest Cane ever.
Frank Gore, like 2-3 plays later, scores. It was friggin' amazing. And to see him score after what he had been through.
Yeah, that was huge for him too.
Yeah. Many reasons why it's just like we were not as dominant anymore, but for whatever reason, that one stands out. And I think that was why.
I had to look this up. My honorable mention is a 2009 game. I had to get this year right.
Oh yeah, Jacory.
That was my Tom Brady. He was my Tom Brady when he was at Miami. I need people to understand that. Like, I changed my visor because he wore a Nike visor. I went and bought those cleats he had. I wanted to be. The only difference, I wasn't a quarterback anymore. But I 12 is my number. I loved Jacory Harris.
Mm-hmm.
So that dot to Bird, it's not Bird, it's Benjamin.
Travis Benjamin.
It's Benjamin.
Yeah.
For me, as a Jacory fan, as a Jacory Harris apologist, that's my honorable mention. Because as I was talking, I was thinking, wait, how did I forget the Jacory throw? Because that was my guy. Like, as much as Dorsey was my guy, and Dorsey probably still is one of my favorite Canes of all time, because of my age when Jacory was a Cane. I was in high school at that time. I graduated in 08. So when he got there, he was my guy. So that one will always stick for me, just because I felt like I grew up around Texas fans and OU fans, and I always had to kind of apologize or defend Miami, especially him. Because from the second he started as a freshman, I started telling people he's going to win a Heisman. So I had to defend him. Oh, he's skinny. He's da. So a lot of his big moments to me are some of my favorite moments, just because he was my favorite football player at one point.
Mm-hmm. Had the misfortune of being at Virginia for the final OB game. Yeah, so was I. I remember it.
We don't talk about Kyle.
No, we just don't talk about that era in general. But okay, score predictions. What do you got?
I'm going 52-10.
Okay, so a repeat of the De'Ara King game.
I think we put a 50 burger on them. I think history's fun. I think repeating history is fun. I think it needs to be more than 45 to satisfy the fan base, just because. And I think just because it's Florida State, they'll score a touchdown, probably garbage time touchdown. But they've got athletes, so they could get behind us once. I'll give them that. But yeah, I think Rocky, I want to see that. Yeah, I think 52-10. I think 52-10. I think we handle business. I think we rush for over 250 easy. And I think Cam is in flip-flops by the fourth quarter.
All right. I agree with that. I think I'm not going to go as high as 50 something for whatever reason. My gut, this is the score that my gut is telling me. I don't know why. 45. So you know how sometimes a score just pops in your head?
Yeah, and it hits you.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, 45-16. That's what's hitting me. Like ever since
I wouldn't
Sunday,
hate that.
No, blowout victory. No, and
another 40 burger.
Yeah, I would love to see Cam on the sideline in flip flops. Enjoying the game, enjoying the fruits of his labor. And our fans in the stands still celebrating. Half still in the stands, half in the parking lot celebrating. But
another thing is, the fans deserve it, man. The fans deserve it. The season ticket holders, guys who are tailgating through those, we're due. We're due for this. So everyone that's going to be at the game, enjoy it, man. You've had to sit through a lot. I know it's hard sometimes when we're going through a season like this. We're also worried, is the next one going to be, because you're undefeated, you want the season to stay special. Sit back and enjoy some of this, because I know I'm not the only one. We buy the merch. We love this program. So we put our money into it. We put our time into it. Enjoy this year, and enjoy this game in particular, man. Like, really have the best time of your life this week, because we've had to sit through heartache facing this team, and we had to listen to them talk for the past couple years. I know the players deserve this, Mario deserves this, but the fans do as well, man. And I'm happy that it sounds like it's going to be packed, and I'm really hoping that everyone just gets to savor this moment, dude. Like, don't unless you got to beat the traffic and you got somewhere to go, don't leave early. Savor this, man. Shake X's hand in the players' hands after this game. Listen to them sing that alma mater.
Oh, hell
Enjoy
yeah.
this one. The rivalry games are special. For those of you that are taking your kids to it, it'll be their first Florida State game. Like, rivalry games are a beautiful thing when you're up. So that's my last message to everyone in the chat, man. Enjoy this thing. If you're on Twitter, have the most fun you can have. If you're out there stuck in Texas like me, enjoy it. But for the people that are going, for the people that have been in those seats through thick and thin, the Georgia Techs and all the nonsense, and the Middle Tennessee States and all that, this shit is for all of y'all too. This is for all of y'all too. So make sure you enjoy this one. Don't get too drunk because you won't enjoy it too much. Get that perfect level of drunk where you're annoying but fun.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right, man. We went a little over further than I usually do, but it's FSU week, of course.
Let's go.
But yeah, man. Big one Saturday. Let's get the W. Let's get a dominant W, nice and clean. No injuries.
No injuries.
And Sunday, it's already in the rear view, and we're talking about Duke. So
let's go.
Before we go, let them know where they can find you, how often you do your shows, and all that stuff.
Twitter at Corey Carmona, right there. YouTube, CB_recruiting. If you just search Chalupa Batman, you'll find really funny videos and a bunch of my interviews. So either way, you'll be entertained. I hope after you watch the funny ones, you do click an interview. You Heard Pod every Wednesday and Sunday. Actually, tomorrow I'm doing it solo because the guys just have other commitments, and I missed the last two, so I was like, let me do it by myself so I could just talk for 45 minutes. I talk too much, which is why every time I come on here, I make John have long episodes because I talk too much. So come hang out tomorrow and listen to me talk too much. But yeah, and I always try to make it a point. Anytime I plug me, y'all here, subscribe here. If you're new here, if you clicked here because I tweeted something out, subscribe to Flow, subscribe to everyone that does this and gives this team their time, their blood, sweat, and tears. People leave work, come on to make this content. So everyone in the chat, make sure you like this, make sure you're subscribing, hit the share button and send it to your Twitter. It don't make you no money, don't cost you no money to hit that subscribe button and hit that share button. Make sure you are. If you listening to this shit right now, if you're not subscribed, I got a problem with you. YouTube be telling me, so I know they tell him 80% of y'all are not subscribed. I know it tells you because it tells me subscribe.
Yeah, it's that little.
Especially because why would you want to miss the post game? He does post games, he does pre games. Get your ass on this channel.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, no, if you don't know, if you're not very tech savvy, you don't know how it works. The subscribe button, it's free, costs you nothing. You just click it. It just notifies you when I drop a video. It notifies you like a text message, basically, kind of thing.
I do you one better. For those of y'all that love to be in the live stream, because you're gonna want to be in the chat because he does them live. So you want to get your shit in so he can talk to you. Hit that little notify button.
There you go.
And then it's gonna let you know before he goes live. So before he goes live on Sunday, you're gonna forget, drank too much Saturday. We beat the shit out of FSU. You're like, damn, I'm supposed to be on John's show. Hit the notify button and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, I got a problem with you.
All right, man. As always, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, brother.
Fun. I could talk Canes with you anytime, obviously, but thank you for being on. And as always, go Canes.
Go Canes.